I just want to say we were teasing Joe when he came in, but when Joe makes a commitment, he always comes through with it, so I knew he's going to be here. But we did all panic for about 30 seconds. So my privilege to get to introduce Michael. The first time, Michael and I have known each other for a while now, 15, 18 years, something like that, but not in AA until the very first time I got up here and told my story, which was 10 years ago this year. It was at Daily Reprieve, and we were in the old church. And I just remember when I got up to do it, Michael was sitting right there in the front row. He was sitting right in front of me. So it was great. I got to tell my story for the first time. Then afterwards, he came up to me, and I was like, what are you doing here? And then we started talking. And so our relationship kind of built from there. But there's a period of time where, that was all Michael was in I can't say it enough. And then when he, a friend Tom Miller sponsored him, Joe worked with him. There's this multitude of people that worked with him, and then I think I sponsored him for probably about 2 or 3 years. And look, Michael would go back out and he'd come back and he would tell you, I'm not going back out, and he meant it. He honest to God meant it. He was not going out. He had no intentions to. But you guys know how this works. We just can't stop from starting. You can't. I mean, you make that decision, it's not going to happen, but you don't have the power of choice in alcohol. You just don't. It comes back and gets you. It says right here, people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. It is simple. If you're in here and you have any length of time, you recognize how simple it is if you just do the work. It wasn't that he wouldn't do the work, but he wouldn't go through with it all. And I don't think, he'll tell you why he never got sober. But here's the deal. I think you get sober when God decides you're going to get sober. The good thing is you don't know how many people in here Mike kept sober, because he kept coming back in here and we all kept talking to him. So, when you sponsor people, you're trying to help people. That's part of this program, and that's what keeps you sober. So I'm sure I'm going to get to hear part of his story tonight that I haven't heard before, but I've heard most of it, but it's going to be fun. I promise you that. Come on up, Mike.
Yep, he was right. Huge disappointment. I'm so grateful to be able to come out and do this. I don't know that I'll keep you guys till 9. My heart is like here and down here, and I haven't slept very good the last few nights. Like, my story would run through my head, but I did keep praying. I kept asking God, please just stop the noises, right? Like, sometimes I can control it, and sometimes I can't, and that's part of my story. And but I'm truly grateful that I get to share my story with you guys. I just don't know how long it's going to be. I promise it will not go past 9 o'clock. It may not go past 8:30. For a long time, this scared me. Doing this right here is like, I remember I had like 6 months of not drinking. I was still on my Xanax at Daily Reprieve, and I remember seeing people up there doing this, and I couldn't do it. Like, I was like, 6 months sober, give it my story about a year, think I'll drink again, right? Like, that was just the way it was, man. I had a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and I'll get into that here in just a second. But thank you for the introduction. Joe, thanks for asking me or telling me that I was doing this tonight. I am nervous, but that's okay. That's all right. God still has me, and I suffer. I suffer from it even today, but my life is way better today than it was all those times that I was relapsing because of how I was feeling, right? Okay, very good. Cole, good to see you. Glad you're here, man. My wife, my beautiful wife, she's here tonight, my beautiful family, and thank God I never lost them in this process. I don't know that I'd be here today if that happened. I may be or I may not be, so that's a big part of my recovery, is my family always believing that one day God would remove that desire. I'm truly blessed about that. So let's get on with it, right? All right, so I was born in wait, one more joke. One more joke. I did ask my bosses to come tonight. Luckily, they didn't show up, because if they hear my story, I may not have a job tomorrow. Not true. Like, my one boss knows my story, and the other boss has a kid that's also one of us, so I think I would be okay. But that was the great joke that I had, okay? It was funny in my head. Okay, so I was born in 1977. My dad's name is Michael. Was Michael. Is Michael. He's no longer alive. And my mom's name is Patricia. I was born in Ardmore, Oklahoma, December 21st, 1977. So that means I am 48, and I'll be 49 coming up. And at one point in my life, I didn't think I was going to make it past 23 probably, or 25, so I was really into some stuff. Anyway, so my earliest memory is in Enid. My dad worked at TGY. He was a manager, and he'd have to go like save stores from closing. And there was a store in Enid, and so we moved there. And from my earliest memory, my dad was, I don't know that he was alcoholic, but he loved to drink. And I would see him next door partying, mostly on the weekend, but he would drink so much he'd be passed out on the picnic table. And me and the kid, the dad or the kid next door that my dad partied with his dad, we would always mimic what my dad and his dad was doing, and we'd start playing quarters. I was probably 5, maybe 5 or 6, and we would sneak some beers. But my dad would also give me a sip of alcohol. We had a refrigerator in the garage, and my dad would make me go get him a beer, and it was usually a Coors Original or a Coors Light or something like that. And I would ask for a sip, and sure enough, he would say, "Well, don't tell your mother, but here you go." So I couldn't drink alcoholically back then, but it did something where I wanted another drink, right? I don't know what that was, but when I first got to AA, I thought I just only drink because I really enjoy the taste of a cold beer, and I think that started when I was 5 years old. Needless to say. So let's see here. So I'm in Enid, and the people from the church came by and knocked on the door, and it was in the summer in Vacation Bible School. And they invited me and my sister. I think my middle brother was probably a baby, and Donnie wasn't thought of yet. But me and my sister went to Vacation Bible School, and I remember the preacher was up there talking about heaven and hell, and how, man, if you're sinning, and if you're lying, if you're cheating, if you're stealing, if you're, whatever, sinning, right, that you're going to hell. And you don't want to go to hell because it's hot in hell. And I didn't want to go to hell, right? Like, I knew that I was a liar. That was one thing that I did when I was a kid. Man, I'd lie about anything. My dad, every time he asked me something, would say, "I know the truth before I ask you this." And it was funny, but I never told the truth. One time I was out sitting on the curb. I was cleaning the mud off my boots. I went down the road, but it rained a lot, and I went down to the creek a lot. We had a creek behind our house. I love to fish, and I always fish with a canned corn. If anybody had never done that, you'll catch some fish with some corn. But anyways, my dad told me not to go down there, and me and my buddy down the road, we went down there, and I was walking home, and I saw my boots, and I was like, man, if my dad sees I have mud all over my boots, he's gonna whoop my butt, right? Well, sure enough, I'm sitting out right in front of the house on the curb. I couldn't even do that down the road, right out there in the open, cleaning the mud off my boots. Come inside, my dad said, "Did you go down to the creek?" "No." "Where'd you get all that mud on your boot?" "Well, Dad, it just rained a lot, Dad. Like, me and George, or whatever his name was, we was playing in that mud puddle down in his front yard." Lie, right? Lie. He's like, "I'll give you one more chance. You tell me the truth." See, my dad didn't want me to die at the creek because it was flooded, right? Just looking out for me, but I was a liar. Anyways, so now I'm going to hell. And so I go down, and I do, man. I accept the Lord as my Savior. Jesus is my Savior. That moment changed my life, spiritually. I remember, I was excited about that, man. I'd come home, and my dad, he drove an old gold station wagon, man. And people that grew up in the 80s probably remember those. Ugly, man. We were poor, And I went down the road, man. I was telling all my buddies, "Hey, man, I just went to church, got saved." And And I'm going to get baptized. You guys want to come? Sure enough, loaded like a carload up. Brought people. I was out saving people, man, early. And watched me got baptized, dude. It was amazing. And then, so I remember one afternoon, my dad came home from work, or he was on the road going to Watonga to work at this store. And he came home and poured out all of his liquor. All the beer. Like, what in the world, Dad? What happened, you know? Well, apparently the preacher came by after we went to Bible school and started talking to my dad about the Lord. And he was on his way to Watonga, and he told me that God showed up for him in the car like a bright light moment, like a Apostle Paul killing Christians. God comes down, and Paul don't kill no more Christians, you know. He gets saved and starts preaching the word. I feel like I'm preaching tonight. Anyway, so he pours out all the beer, like, oh look, like man, like I probably still wanted a little bit of that beer, right? So we were living in Eden, and my dad got transferred again to Art City, Kansas, and I was probably in the second and third grade, I think, because I showed up there and I was the new kid, right? And I just felt a lot of, I didn't know it back then, but I was anxious and fearful, and man, just didn't know how to get out of my own way. I was real athletic though, right? Like, if I got on the field, I'd be super nervous in the beginning, kind of like right now, you know, before I was talking. But when I started kicking a soccer ball or throwing a football or playing basketball, man, I was the star. And I don't know where that came from, except that God blessed me with a talent for sports that I ended up drinking and losing a scholarship because of that. But anyway, so I'm at that new school, and this kid, man, he was probably the star before I showed up, you know. And it really made him mad because we were always on the opposite teams. He was a captain, I was a captain. And man, he always wanted to fight me. And I was like, man, I don't want to fight. Like, I'm scared of you. Without saying I'm scared of you, you know, I just felt it inside. And I remember this older kid stood up for me and ended up getting in a fight with that kid. And he never bothered me again. And from then on out, man, I tried to seek out people that were bigger than me, and that would help me, right? Like, I needed some help. Anyway, so man, life was, you know, just the way it was, and I don't remember a lot from there except that I remember my teacher. I don't remember her first name. I think her name was Miss Watson. She was this big black lady, right? And if you lied to her, if you got in trouble, man, the line was still there, you know, even though I was saved now, but I was still lying. Maybe not so much, but she would whoop your butt with a paddle that had freaking holes in it. Back then, you could get whooped. No, it wasn't, Bella, just to let you know. But I remember getting paddled, and but it didn't fix what was going on inside, you know. And then, my dad, we was only there for a couple years, and then finally we landed in Stillwater in 5th grade. And I remember we lived right over by the high school on Husband Street. It's a big blue L-shaped house. You guys might know it. It's 1702 North Husband, if you guys want to go check it out. But we were there, and I remember I went to school over at Will Rogers Elementary, and I would ride my bike, you know, from home to school, and I'd show up, and other kids would have their bikes, you know, and man, my bike just didn't quite look as good as theirs. Like, they were riding the Mongoose or had the pegs, and man, I had like a Huffy, dude, that my dad got from probably half price from TG&Y, believe it or not, you know. And so, anyways, I just fell off, man. But my athleticism, you know, people accepted me. I also had acne back then. I hit puberty at a young age. Oh yeah, and I got held back at kindergarten, man. I went from kindergarten to pre-first to first because I just could not sit down. I had way too much energy. The teacher saying, come in here, take a nap. Dude, I'm on the freaking slide. She can't catch me, right? So they thought it was a good idea for me to go to 1st grade twice. So I did. So I was always a little older than the kids. But I started acne way before everybody else. And people made fun of me, man, and it hurt my feelings. And I always had that. I think from that time I had a complex of like the way I looked and the way people saw me. And but I'm playing sports and I'm popular, but man, I'm making my parents like drop me off like 2 blocks from the school, right? Because nobody can see me getting out of a station wagon, right? Like, that just didn't work for me. So I was telling my parents to drop me off, and they're saying why, you know, and I'm just like, Dad, because you drive a station wagon and my buddy's parents drive Cadillacs. And so that I was always like, we were just super poor, you know. My dad was trying to do his best. I have 3 brothers and 1 sister, and I remember us eating out a little bit, you know, growing up, but mostly my mom was cooking, you know, making pork chops and, you know, all the fixings and everything. So I might make it real fast, 8:30. And that's when I started lifting weights. Every day. I lived 3 blocks from the YMCA, and I went up there every morning and every evening, all summer long. So, was that 90 days of working out? I haven't grown since the 6th grade. Believe it or not, dude, I stunted my growth. But when I showed up on 7th grade, people were like, what in the world happened to you, dude? Like, I was tight, flexing. I was like, man, I can't wait for that bully to mess with me. And I knew he would on 7th grade playground, and he did. And I whooped him. And I remember walking out, and man, everybody hated this kid, but he was real rich, right? And but he would pick on everybody, me especially. Acne, you know, short. And I remember on the basketball court, man, he said something to me, and I just beat him. I had to get pulled off of him. I don't know what happened, but something snapped. And I was tired of being made fun of. And I walked out, and everybody started standing up, clapping, and going like sea lunch. It was great, man. Like we had to go to in-school suspension, and we actually became friends after that, dude. Like, he quit bullying everybody. And so I was the savior of the school, right? So anyways, so 6th and 7th grade, man, I couldn't really drink, or I don't know, we went to church all the time, right? Like, we went to a Baptist church. I forgot my water. You can't wear shorts, right? Playing basketball. You can't, right? Like anything you do, you're dying to go to hell, right? Thank you, Mark. You can't wear shorts. Girls can't cut their hair. Girls can't wear jeans. You know, like, you can't date a girl outside of school. You can't go to prom. I'm like, man, what can you do, right? Like, just drove me away. But anyways, I got a paper route when I was 14, and dude, I lived over in the college area, and man, there was beers all the time, like on people's front yards and stuff. Well, I just stuck those in my bag, and I'd hide them in my closet. And I might drink 1 or 2, but I had to go to church, you know, in the morning. My parents, if they would have known that, like, it would not have been very good. They probably would have kicked me out when I was like 14, because it was none of that, right? And so I also remember I was delivering to this older man, and he'd be sitting out on the porch drinking beer, and he'd ask me, man, you want a cold beer? I'm like, well, heck yeah, you know. Well, he gave me a cold beer, we'd have a beer together, and I'd go home, and I'd be feeling really good. Man, it made me feel normal, right? Made me feel great. Problem is every time I went by there, I was expecting him to give me a cold beer, and he always did. He didn't always be sitting out there drinking beer. I'd be knocking on his door and stuff. Hey, man, you ready to have that beer? You know, anyways, man, I did a lot of bad stuff on my paper route, though, man, because back then, I listened to rap. I started listening to rap music, and we lived on Elm Street. I remember Will Smith coming out with this CD, or there's not the CD, it's the tape, because you couldn't get a CD back then. But this single about Nightmare on My Street, I don't know if y'all ever heard that, but I'd be listening to that driving down Elm Street with on my bike. At this point, I did have a mongoose, you know, because Cooper's was right down the road, and my paper route got me that. My paper route did a lot for me. It got me Guess jeans, Pepe's, Maurice's stuff. Like, I could finally fit in, right? Because I needed the clothes to match the way other people was looking, right? Like, I was popular, and I just needed to fit in, and so I did. I did what I could. Anything that I could do to fit in, I did. And but I remember, man, I would go through people's cars and stuff, man, and I don't want to admit that, but that's the truth. I'd be looking for whatever, man, more rap CD map. So I didn't want to have to buy it. I'd be looking through people's chains, you know, just grabbing money. You know, I needed money. And more alcohol, you know, whatever I could find, I wanted. I also remember after that, after the paper route, okay, so I'm probably 15, 16. No, I'm probably 6. Yeah, I remember because I had a 280ZX, and I'd ride around with the windows open, or the T-top off, and a guy came to the church. and his name was Brad. And the first time we hung out, he said, "Hey, Mike, I got some weed. I want to smoke." I'm like, "Some weed? What you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, I got us a joint." There will be a little bit of drug talk, but I know it's AA. I'll keep it short and sweet. But so I got high for the first time, right? We were at Boomer Lake, and we laughed for like an hour and a half, man. This was before like they started, the weed today, like a lot of chemicals and stuff, like it's strong, man. I know because I used to have my weed card, and I was like, this is not the same stuff that I smoked the first time. I promise that. But anyway, so I was like, man, like the weed made me happy, joyous, and free, man. I was a pothead, man. Just couldn't get it all the time, but I remember from that time, like we moved out to 56 in Sanger, where my mom's house is today, and that's where my brother's shop is. And I chased a girl out there. I was dating this girl from the church, like God dang, keep it within the church. Started dating her. I was gonna marry this girl, right? This was my first love. Sorry, honey. We moved out right next door, man. We bought a house and land out there, or my dad did, and I started going to Perkins School, man, my sophomore year, and I was the outcast. I was from Stillwater. People from Perkins, they don't like people from Stillwater, especially if they're good at sports, because then their guy from Stillwater is going to take my starting point guard, right? So I wasn't accepted, man. I got picked on there, and I started feeling the same things, man. Just not fit in, man. Just anxiety and fear. And so anyways, but then, I got in with some Indians, man. Some Indian kids that their parents worked at the casino, and that's where my gambling addiction started. Like, I started going and playing bingo. Bingo was fun, man. Dobbing and just having a good old time. Every once in a while you'd win, say bingo, and get $150 or something. And we paid $20 for the pack, so I was like, man, this is a good time, right? And then I found out the Indians, they like to smoke pot. So I'm like, oh, yes, sir, we're good. But they also like to drink. And then that's where I started drinking. And we'd go out dirt roading, smoking pot and drinking beer, driving around, drinking, having a great time. But I seem to always drink way more than those guys. I mean, I would black out, pee my pants at their house, and don't know what somebody woke up and peed all over me. I didn't do this. Back then, I didn't have hangovers. I was young. That's embarrassing for me to tell you guys, but I'm sure I'm not the only one that peed their pants here. I'm just saying, right? Like, I may be the only one that admits it, dang it, but lots of times I'd wake up, man, I get lost going to the bathroom, man, like, super drunk. My wife would have to, like, take my arm and, like, lead me to the bathroom, because I might walk into my kid's bed, and accidentally pee on them. Or at least in their closet or something, So anyways, I'm really ashamed of that, but that's what happened, right? So then I started thinking, man, maybe I need to just cut back a little. Like, I need to not drink so much, right? So I started smoking way more. And then I came up with a great idea, right? Why pay for your own marijuana? Like, start selling it, and then you can get it for free. So that's what I started doing. Probably like, let me take that back for a second. So I ended up flunking out. I moved back my senior year. I asked the girl to quit wearing pants. She wouldn't, because I went to church camp, and they had this big lesson about how women should dress. Well, I was super convicted, or I was super told. Either way, brainwashed into making her stop wearing pants for me, right? She said yes, and then talked to her parents about it, and then said no. I was like, well, it's probably over. When it was over, I moved back. She was a senior, I was a junior. I moved back to Stillwater, right? I wanted to get back with my friends and graduate with them and do the right thing, Well, I got to Stillwater, and I felt the same way, man. Like, people, like, I thought I'd come back, everybody'd be like, oh, yeah, Mike Short's back. Freaking point guard, star football player, soccer. Come on, man, we need you, right? And that was not the way it was, man. They lived life for 2 or 3 years without me. And I didn't realize that. Like, I thought it was going to be all about me, kind of like when I get here, right? And it wasn't, man. And I felt the same stuff, dude. I just felt anxious, man. And I needed a drink. I was super thirsty and didn't know it. But anyways, I ended up flunking out. I had a class at 12:30. Didn't live with my parents. I was in and out of my parents' house from smoking pot. So I did go back because I flunked out of my senior year. And I started going back to the church, even though they kicked me out. I was like, okay, I'll try the God thing one more time. And they sent me to a boys' ranch in Eufaula. And I graduated there. So I did graduate. But then I didn't go to college. You know, I started my own business up, my entrepreneurship of selling drugs, and that's when I arrived, man. Like I would drink and party, but the drugs were always way more important. Smoking pot, anyways. I could get you anything, and I don't even mean to say that, but that's how I felt, man. I was on top of the world. I had money in my pocket. I had a girl on my arm, and I had what people wanted, finally. You know, that's how I felt. I felt like I arrived. And needless to say, you know, I loved rap music. I still love rap music. I love the hardcore rap music. But I just didn't know that the hardcore stuff could happen to a guy like me, you know? Like, I didn't know that people wanted what I had, and they would rob me for it, or take it, or do whatever. I was at the bar one night with my buddy. He was my roommate. He left and went back home, and I didn't know that he had a cocaine problem. But he was one time I found the spoon, and he was shooting up. I didn't know that. But he left and came back home, and when we got home, the back door was kicked in, my mattress was all thrown, and the money was gone. And I don't know how much was there, but there was a lot there. And all my weed was gone. I was like, what the hell? This guy just robbed me. Well, I ended up moving out of there, moving into another house, went to an apartment or something on my own, and I met this girl. I was at Stonewall one night, and I had some food on me, and we went out and smoked, and she was my girlfriend. Well, the home invasion happened probably 8 months or 9 months after we got together, and I was in bed. Probably about 10:30 in the morning. I was sleeping off. I think I did some shrooms or something the night before, or some acid or something, and drank as well. And she got up and went to work. She worked at the QT. There used to be a QT right up here by McDonald's. She worked there. 9 o'clock, car was gone. I didn't have a vehicle back then because I got a first DUI back then, and they took my license. They didn't steal it. I gave it to them. They took it, but I didn't want. I'm not paying for this. I deserve to have a driver's license. I'm not paying them to get my driver's license back. So I didn't. So I drove her car around without a driver's license, and went to jail for that too. Back then, they wouldn't write you a ticket for that. They'd arrest you right there and haul your car away. They might still do that. I don't know. I do have a driver's license. But anyway, so I'm in bed, and then all of a sudden, man, I'm sleeping good, right? Like, I used to sleep really good, man. And I hear this loud boom, and it sounds like a Mack truck hits the back of my house, you know. I'm woke up. I'm, like, kind of in a panic, thinking I'm about to die from a vehicle running into me or something. And I turn around, and I look up, and probably from that bathroom, probably halfway, our room opened up that way, and I saw this dude running in, and he had like a 9mm or something, a silver gun, in his hand, and I watched a karate movie that night, man, and the first thing I could think of is I'm gonna jump up. I didn't even really think about it, man. It just happened, dude. Jumped up and roundhoused this dude. Like, I've never even taken a karate lesson, man. It was the coolest thing in the world at the time, right? But I roundhoused him. He hit this wall over here and left his head print in there. That's how hard I hit him, man. I thought I did pretty good. And then I was like, okay, it's on. You know, I'm ready to fight this dude. I already know what's going on, but I'm ready to fight. And remember, I lifted weights. I was built. And then this other dude came running in, and then another dude behind him, and I don't know what the middle guy had a gun or not, but the last guy had a sawed-off shotgun. And I was like, oh my God, like, what is going on? And so I just kind of freeze. Well, they tackled me. Well, that dude I kicked, man, came and just started pistol whipping me with that 9mm, man. Man, I've never been the same since then. I remember they asked me where all my stuff was. I didn't have any stuff, but I had a lot of cash because my guy was about to go and get the stuff. And I just gave them all the money, man. I didn't know what to do. I just didn't want to die, right? I was in a lot of fear after that for sure. I mean, that accelerated my drinking. The only reason why I'm telling you guys all that stuff is because that's when I started drinking alcoholically, man. I remember I was laying in a pool of blood, blacked out. My girlfriend comes home for lunch, luckily, and found me, takes me to the ER. They asked me what happened, and I told them, man, guys came in the house, and I guess they were looking for somebody, but they weren't looking for me, right? We had a party that night, and they were coming to fight somebody, but it wasn't me. I definitely wasn't going to tell them I was a drug dealer, right? So I didn't. And they called the cops, and the cops came, and then I told them, man, I didn't tell them I was a drug dealer either, because I didn't want to go to jail, but I did tell them, hey, man, guys came in my house, they broke in, and they're like, do you know their descriptions? And I was like, yeah, I ripped off 2 of their masks, and I can remember. And so they're like, okay, we'll keep an eye out. Well, about 3 months later, they called me and said, hey, we got some guys that meet those descriptions. Come do a lineup, or come check it out. I was scared, man. I didn't know what to do. But I went, and I saw him, and I'm like, yep, that guy, and that guy. And he's like, well, these guys have been doing this thing all over Oklahoma, so they're going to jail for a long time. Thank you. I left that jail, and the stuff didn't go away, man. I was afraid. I thought I knew people were after me, man. I was paranoid. Something happened when I'd put my hands on this pulpit or a table or something, and the whole table felt like it would move. And I just didn't know what was going on with me, man. I didn't know about anxiety. I'd go to a restaurant or something with my girlfriend, and the walls would be freaking closing in on me, and I had to get out of there. I couldn't breathe. And they were like, what is wrong with this guy? I was the life of the party a day ago, and I wasn't the life of the party anymore, man. I tried drugs after that, and I couldn't get the same effect, so I stopped. I definitely didn't sell anymore, and about 2 months later, the guy that I used to get a bunch of weed from, he got popped too. And then about 6 months after that, a black guy that I used to hang out with, that we used to do the same stuff, he got killed in Oklahoma City on a drug deal. And I probably would have been at the guy's house, and I probably would have been with that guy. And if God wouldn't have done what he did, I used to blame God for that. I did. Why, God? Why do I have anxiety because of what I did? And it was because of what I did, but I put myself in that situation, and God saw fit that I would get out of that situation. I may have never made it out, but God made it a way where I got it out. So God was always in my life, right? Anyway, so I'm fearful. I'm running and gunning, drinking alcoholically, because I don't want to remember that stuff. So I'd be in and out of around. My friends didn't want to hang out with me because when I got a gun, and I carried it everywhere, and then I would sleep with 2 butcher knives, and every time the AC would come on, or somebody would walk up the stairs, I was in a panic. I didn't sleep. I didn't know what was going on, man. I never felt like that before in my life. Anyways, my girlfriend left because of it. I left town because of it. I thought I met this girl, another girl, working a drywall job, and I knew I couldn't work inside. I was all over the place, man. I'd work for a week, and I couldn't take it because I'd see somebody that reminded me of what happened, and I'd have to leave, and I couldn't even give them a reason why, but I did. And lots of fear, lots of drinking. So much drinking, that's when I'd black out all the time because I didn't want to feel the way I did. So me and her go to Florida. We drink the money away. I become homeless for the first time in my life down in Florida. It's a great place to be homeless, just to let y'all know. Sun shines a lot down there. It does rain a lot though too. Anyway, so I lost everything. Somebody stole my wallet at a bar one time, and so I didn't have any ID. I didn't have nothing, so I couldn't sleep anywhere. I tried to get day labor job because I needed money. I needed some alcohol. I would not panhandle. I could not hold a sign, but I had enough anxiety that I could get a job. Right. My mom finally sent down my IDs and stuff. My dad wouldn't talk to me at that point, and I was homeless, man. But I would do day labor and I would drink. Sometimes I would be able to. I couldn't stay at the Salvation Army because if you come in there drunk, they ask you to leave. Sometimes me and a guy that smoked crack would rent a hotel, and I would drink then too. But most of the time, I was sleeping behind a dumpster because I could not stop drinking. I needed the alcohol to make the voices stop and to feel normal. And I was okay with being homeless. And then I met a guy doing day labor. He liked how I worked, and he had a tree farm in Florida and up in Pennsylvania. So me and that guy takes off and goes to Pennsylvania, and I end up getting fired from there. I end up going to jail, getting kicked out of a bar in Florida, and doing 9 months in prison because I was trespassed. I was blacked out. I was trying to fight the cops. I have assault and battery charges on my record. I have 5 DUIs. In 1 week, I got 2 assault and batteries and 3 public intoxes. I don't know how that's possible for a guy like me, but it happened. But anyway, so I came back to Stillwater because this girl said I got her pregnant back in the day. And I took the DNA test, and it found out I wasn't the baby. They sent me a letter, but for some reason I had to come back to Stillwater and appear in front of the judge. And the judge said, "Why is Mr. Short here?" Well, I got a letter saying I needed to be here. Well, we saw that you're not the father. You know, it was a more perfect deal. You are not the father. Like, thank God, right? Like, I'm out of here. I'm going to the bar. I went to the bar and celebrated that one. Let's see here. My between 22 and 32, man, I was doing the same thing over and over again, getting the same result, right? I just could not stop drinking. I needed help. I knew I needed help, but that's the only thing that worked for me. I wasn't an everyday drinker because somebody like me that has a lot of fear and anxiety and PTSD, I didn't know I had PTSD, but I do, and I did, and it's way better today because I got sober. I always thought alcohol was the answer, but it's not, man. Alcohol lies to me. It takes away everything, and God gave me peace today that allows me to come up here and do this, and it's amazing. But anyway, so between 22 and 32, I was back at the golf course. I was doing the same thing, man, drinking and partying and getting fired and getting accepted back. But I didn't have any friends anymore, man. It was just me. I was the lone wolf. I had some people that would drink a little bit with me, but I'd always take it too far, and then they didn't want to have anything to do with me. Man, that was just a cycle that repeated itself a whole bunch. When I was 33, I started working at McDonald's as a shift manager, moving up in the world, right? Met my beautiful wife. She was a shift manager. I was with a girl at the time that had like 4 kids that I wasn't really a part of, and I couldn't wait to leave her. And one time I got home and all my clothes were thrown out, and so I left. Mom came and picked me up because I still didn't quite have a driver's license at that point, because I think that was after my 3rd DUI. So met my wife. We got married a couple about 9 months or so after we met, maybe a year or so. Got married at the courthouse. Her parents didn't want anything to do with me because I'm American and she's Mexican. But that's okay, right? Let's see here. We get married and I'm still drinking. At this point, I am prescribed Xanax by a psychiatrist. I'm not getting it off the streets. I am taking it the way it's prescribed, and it does help. But I needed alcohol, man. Like, alcohol was the thing. And I was, just like, you know, in the book, it talks about, I think Dr. Bob needed a sedative for a long time to stay sober. But he stayed sober, I didn't. But anyways, I know that feeling, you know. There was that book, man, it shares my story, dude. There's so many parallels in that book that reminds me of me. That's why I get so passionate about it. And man, I love that book. This book, Alcoholics Anonymous, man. It tells my story from page 1 all the way through the book. And I don't like hearing that, man. I fought AA, so I think my 4th DUI was in like 2010, and by 2012 I was in drug court and I had to come to AA, and that's when I first got here. And I had a sponsor. When I first day I walked in the door, you know, like a guy said, "Hey, you're with us," and I said, "Okay." I didn't know there was groups in here, but I guess I'm with the cool group, right? Because I'm athletic and people love me, and I'll do what you want me to do because I need you to like me. So I was with them, and then it didn't quite work out, man. what I was being told didn't line up with what I was hearing out of the book, so I fired him and started drinking again after I got out of drug court. You know, if the police were after me, or if I was sentenced to do something, if I could make them happy to get them off my back, I could quit drinking. It was miserable, but I at least was taking my prescription, and I just couldn't mix it with alcohol, so I didn't do that. But then I did. After I got out, after I graduated drug court once, I got a 12-pack on the way home, and I was off to the races again. The problem is this time, man, when I was drinking, I'd hear AA, and AA will ruin your drinking, man. I promise you. You come to a lot of meetings and get AA in your head, and drink is just not quite as fun, man. So anyway, so that's what was happening. So I'd come back, like Jeff would talk about, and I'd be out. I never really knew that. I mean, I don't know that I was really relapsing, because it's not. I mean, I did work some steps, but I never knew, like, I don't think I really got step one. You know, that I was really powerless over alcohol. That, you know, I just thought I could, you know, just limit the drinking, you know, or you know, I could control it, you know. But when I was controlling my alcoholism, man, I was not happy, man. And when I didn't control it, I wasn't happy either, because I had lots of consequences. You know, I had a very unmanageable life, but that part I could realize, you know. But the hardest thing is going through everything that I had to go through to get here, and it seemed a normal life, man. Getting a DUI, having to have a blower in my truck, losing a job. You know, I just thought that was normal, man, for somebody that drank like I did. I just dealt with it, man. But my anxiety and stuff, it made me where I couldn't stay stuck in that. Oh, I was gonna say, I wasn't an everyday drinker because of that. When I drank and was super hungover, I couldn't hardly get out of bed. The fear, the emotional stuff that I was dealing with was so heavy. A beer that next day seemed impossible for a guy like me, and it was, man. I tried it. I tried to drink the next day, and I just could not get that effect, man. That's the reason why I love alcohol. It wasn't because it tasted good and because I was 4 years old. It was because I love the effect produced by alcohol. It gives me a calming that nothing else quite could do. Even sedatives couldn't get me there, like I said. So I'm a true alcoholic, man. When it talks about the hopeless alcoholic in this book, I wasn't an everyday drinker, and that's why I looked as good as I do today, you know? Like, my body never was shutting down. I went to the doctor one time because my side hurt, and he said I had a fatty liver, and I needed to, well, I won't say the doctor, because you guys might know him. But it was a fatty liver, and I was like, man, really? Like, I do eat a lot of fast food, man. It ain't the alcohol, right? But he tells me to cut it back, and he said, or the nurse called me and said, sir, do you think you, or Michael, she didn't say sir, Michael, because they know me, do you think you can quit drinking? I'm like, man, I don't know, you know? She's like, can you at least cut back? And I'm like, from what, like, you mean like, not drink like 12 to 15? And she's like, no, the doctor recommends like 1 glass a day. I'm like, 1 glass a day? You know, what's the point of that, you know? Like, I drink one and I'm definitely getting another, but in the end, man, so I was in and out. I would tell you guys everything that you wanted to hear. I needed to be accepted by you guys for a long time. And you guys accepted me. Most of y'all did. The people that are in here tonight are not the same people that when I would be speaking and stuff or sharing in a meeting, they'd be shaking their head and rolling their eyes. I'm glad I didn't get any of that tonight. Thank you guys. But anyways, working these steps. So how it is now, I was in and out, right? My last drink. Oh, I got to tell you this one time, man, because this is how God shows up for me. I'm doing what my sponsor's telling me to do for the most part, especially about praying in the morning. Even if I was drunk and relapsing or still drinking, I was getting up and I'd hit my knees and I'd ask God, please keep me sober today, right? Like, God, take the desire away. Even when it didn't happen, I was still doing that. See, I had a God, I thought. It was a God of the Baptist, you know, the God that sends you to hell for, and that's still my God. I believe the Bible. I believe Jesus came, and that He is my Savior, and I've done what the Bible requires for me to go to heaven. And so if that doesn't happen, I can look God in the eyes and say, God, you're a liar, because that Bible lied to me, and I believed it. but I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, so I'm at the bar. This is right when I'm about to get sober. I'm at the bar. I'm at Murphy's, shooting pool, drinking, having a good time. I probably only had about 8 because, you know, I don't want to be hungover the next day. Maybe 9. Okay. But I had a little buzz going, and I owed this guy $20 because we were gambling on the pool game, and I barely lost, so I did, but I did lose. And I'm going to the ATM to get $20 out, and I'm putting quarters on this pool table, and I hear out of the corner of out of my ear, Michael. And nobody calls me Michael, okay? Everybody that knows me either calls me Shorty, because that was my name growing up back in the day. That was my nickname. Or they call me Short Dog. Or they call me Mike, right? Nobody calls me Michael. I don't call myself Michael. I do today. And the reason is because this happened. 2 guys were standing by the bar. One had blonde hair, blue eyes, and was kind of tall, slender. And the other guy was brown, Iranian looking, curly hair, fat guy with sandals on. And I said, "Excuse me, do I know you?" And the taller guy said, "I am Gabriel." And I said, "What? You mean Gabriel from the Bible?" And the other guy said, "Well, who are you?" He said, I'm Matthew. And dude, I was losing it at the bar, and I don't know if anybody else was paying attention, but I was, and I said, "I know God wants me to get sober." Sent an angel down. Then outside I was leaving, and the Uber driver, I made her meet the guy, just so I knew that it was true, that I wasn't blacked out or thinking I was crazy. But his name was John, and I said, "You mean John the Baptist?" And he never answered, and I said, "So you guys know God?" And he said, "I believe you do." And I was losing it, like in front of the bar, I was crying. And then the Uber driver talked to the guy. And I know the Uber driver, and I made sure that really did happen. But anyways, God was always showing up throughout all my life, my drinking. And the last time I drank, I was at the casino, and I was doing shots with another guy, and I Ubered there because the guy that Ubers likes to gamble and drink as well. And I'm blacked out, and I make it home, and I'm on the edge of the bed. Lost all my money again. Gonna be hungover, I know for sure. And my wife is sitting on the edge of the bed with eyes this big, and I'm come to, and I'm like, "What is going on?" And she said, "You really scared me. You said you were going to take your life. You were going to kill yourself." And I don't know if I had a plan. I didn't have a plan before I went to the board, but apparently you do when you're blacked out and you're as miserable and hopeless as I was, and I was. I was the real alcoholic that the book describes, the hopeless in mind and body with a spiritual malady that only feels like I don't have a spiritual malady when I drink, right? What do I do when I get sober? How do I live life out there without taking a drink? That's the question for me. Not taking a drink, getting sober, or not drinking is not good enough for me. It's not. I need a spiritual experience every day of my life with a God of my understanding. And I know that God makes all things possible. I never thought I could get sober, man. I tried. I could only make it about 4 or 5 days without taking something that would shut the brain off, shut the stuff off. And that's what I was talking about in the beginning, thinking about this speech. I rehearsed this speech 3 or 4 times, and it didn't go this way. So that means that there's a God, right? I didn't think I could talk for an hour, but I guess I can. I didn't think I could. All things are possible with the God of my understanding, and I hope that you guys, if you're struggling out there, man, don't quit praying. If there's anything out there, hit your knees every day and ask God to remove the desire. That is the only way out. I tried everything else. I didn't find this God at church. I still go to church. I go to church, not the Baptist church, but I go to church, right? Because I love God, man. I love worshiping God. I love praying to that God, and I do it every day. I have a conscious contact with the God of my understanding today that brings angel and people out of the Bible into my life. It hadn't happened again, but I haven't taken a drink. I thought maybe they were coming to take me out of the world, right? Like, okay, guess it's not the Reaper, right? It's the angel. But anyways, man, thank you guys for coming and listening to my story. I couldn't get into everything, but you guys got the gist of it, that alcohol was my God, and I needed it. to make it in the world. And I need God so big that He changes my life where I don't need to take Xanax and I don't need to take stuff for my PTSD and anxiety. I just need to get close to God, and God will relieve that stuff, you know. And I didn't know that until I got here, and I'm sorry that I kept a lot of people sober in the beginning and throughout the years. And Jeff Miller, you saved my life more than once, and you put AA in my head, and you loved me, and I love you, dude. I know it didn't work out with us being sponsors and sponsee, but I still think you're my great sponsor, you know. And I don't have time to really share about my other sponsor. I was supposed to. Somebody was supposed to throw something at me if I didn't mention it. He's not here. He's on vacation. I wish he was here, but he has showed me how to love people, how to not have expectations on people, and to love people who they are. They're sick. I'm sick. Everybody's sick, but God can heal if He's sought today. And I love you guys, and thank you guys for being a part of my recovery.